Welcome back to the Growing Band Director Podcast. This is our third of 6 videos with Terry White on jazz rep, beginning jazz to grade 3. Yeah, it's going well so far.
Yes, it has. And there's so many great charts out there. And I mean, we've only done a fraction of really what's out there, but this is done on band director recommendation, what's worked for certain people. And again, like you said in the previous video, don't be afraid to adjust, arrangements to work for you. If your lead trumpet player doesn't have a high C or for that one note, don't not do the chart because of that.
Yep.
Or heaven forbid, let them keep trying to miss that high C every time. Find an alternative for that one note. Make those adjustments, make it fit for your purposes.
This first chart is arranged by Michael Sweeney, again, one of the best writers of everything and arrangers out there. This is the Duke Ellington tune, Caravan. Again, a lot of middle schools have done this, but this is just one of the best things you can do in a style like this, and it's also you're doing Ellington's music.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And anytime you can teach the jazz classics. And Mike, this is a great chart that Mike has done. And I mean, he's a nice dude, and he totally gets what kids can and can't do.
Yeah, it's also great because there's the Latin jazz style plus the swing style and goes back and forth. That's a great teaching tool.
And we had mentioned that on one of the previous things about the transitions from either the 2-feel to 4 or the Latin to the swing. Just have to be, aware of the tendencies. Things can pick up or feel like they're dragging.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that not only the director be aware of that, but instill that into the kids right from the get-go.
Yeah.
An awareness.
All right, here's Caravan, arranged by Michael Sweeney. About Caravan too is that there's I had a recording going there. Is the improvisation thing is just you can use just harmonic minor. I mean, that's what they do on the thing, and especially if you. So when I did this, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but if you did a F harmonic minor scale from C to C, so the octave is actually pretty good for kids. So you're playing 5 flat 6, major 7 1, so like concert pitch C, D flat, E natural, F. You teach them like some riffs based on just a group of notes from that scale, and that's what they use on the recording too, and it works really well. Kids can improvise on it.
I think it's also important because it's easy for kids to get lost in this. It's not that it's hard, but it's like kids learning to improvise over So What, Maiden Voyage, and things, relatively simple tunes, but they can get lost very easily. So
when I've done it, I've done 8-bar melody, 8-bar solos, quickie, and here you go.
Right.
Cool. All right, the next one is one of my favorite grade twos. This is Terry's arrangement on Red's Good Groove by Red Garland. B-flat blues and swings out the door.
I was very fortunate. Our friend Tom Lazat suggested this. We wrote this for the second band at Cape Elizabeth High School several years ago. It worked really well, and just on a whim, I sent it to Mike Sweeney, and he picked it up. And it's, I always felt I was born 20 years too late. I missed the big band thing. I was meant for that, and I just love to write swing figures, and this has worked out really well. So
great. Here's Red's Good Groove. There's so much in that chart you can do. So like we're talking about the running eighth notes, the do, da, woo, da, woo, da, woo, that jazz articulation. The shout on that, I love it. So the sax soli, and way I've done this sax soli is, yes, there's inflection, but until they're playing strong and out, I almost say there's no dynamics. It's just forte.
Right.
And so that's a great moment for the saxes, and I like how it ends strong.
And I think, you can't say this about every situation, but the kids could listen to this demo, the recording, especially where the saxes play the soli. They could listen to that and fully understand how to interpret that.
They can also listen to the original Red Garland chart on it too.
Yes.
It's a great tune.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's in the Real Easy book as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, our next tune is a Bobby Timmons tune, arranged again by Mark Taylor. This is called Moanin', and this one is going to be piano out front, features your piano player. Yeah, that chart just swings.
It does. You know, Mark's the master at that stuff. And there's never what we would refer to as a left-handed rhythmic figure. It's not that it's predictable. It just is natural.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. So obviously to do that, you need to have a piano player.
Right.
Yeah. Or you could put it in vibes or something. That'd be a cool vibe feature too.
I mean, oftentimes, you know, I'll get a request from somebody, you know, I've got this great piano player. What do you have for charts that, you know, publishers don't write a lot of piano feature charts because they're not huge sellers. They're just not
so when
there.
you find one like this, keep it, write it down.
Sure.
So that if you don't have the piano player, when you get the piano player, that's what I did. I bought it and then I got a piano player and then we used it.
Right. And it's not like it's going to go out of style.
Right.
You know.
Right. Also, there's the other Monin tune that a lot of people love. I love Mingus, but I don't dig that tune.
Not one of my favorites.
People are going to shut off the episode right now. I feel like people either love that tune or don't like that tune.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't work for me.
It's all good. Okay. Next tune is classic Miles Davis. And this is a recording from Kinda Blue. This is, let's see, Freddie Freeloader. And Miles played with Cannonball Adderley and John Coltrane as his side players on that one. And this is Mike Sweeney's arrangement. One thing I like about this chart is you're doing standard jazz, and you can listen to the original, all that. But in it, there's a trumpet soli that Mike Sweeney did. So I actually, when I did this, I don't know if you remember, I did this with the second band like 5 or 6 years ago. I took, instead of doing that soli, I literally did one chorus with trombones playing the first chorus, and then I did the trumpets on another chorus and the sax on another chorus, but they all had unison.
Mm-hmm.
So we just took the transcribed solo and did that, and then the rhythm section played the part of the piano solo. But my only downfall of this part is the trumpet 3 player is not playing the Miles solo; they're playing the harmonized part of the Miles solo.
Correct.
Which is it's a great ode to it, but I actually prefer to have them all play the melody.
I've tried in some of my charts. It's not always possible, but if I can take something from the original, whether it's a Wes Montgomery guitar lick or whatever, and make that part of the chart, and in the conductor notes explain that's what it is, so the kids get some kind of a reference to it. And it's not always possible.
At the very least, too, if somebody did this chart, they could even have everybody on these 12 bars, all the trumpets play trumpet 1, so they're all learning that part.
Yeah, and that's the part we were talking about earlier about adapting an arrangement. You know, you can add to arrangements, especially if it's a blues and you've got this solo that you want the kids to learn. You know, insert it into the chart and just tell the rhythm section, you know, play these 12 bars again, and have kids play there.
As long as you do it at the right place.
Oh, sure.
Cool. All right, here's Freddie Freeloader, arranged by Michael Sweeney. Yeah, and the opening piano part of that, along with the saxes later on, that's from the original recording too. And you were talking, we were listening to that off air about how the chopping on wood on count 4 with the back end of the drumstick on the rim.
It does. Without being obnoxious, it does settle the time and locks it right in. Especially if the drummer is very perceptive, and just lays it right down. Don't play with the band. You play the time, the band will play to you.
And for my tastes, I'd rather do a B flat blues like that. It's like a simple tune, but it's part of the standard jazz rep. New blueses are great too, but that tune is so simple. And even when everybody's playing the melody, they do it. Sweeney uses the original harmony from the original recording, 3-part harmony.
There's a case of, let's say, I think it was the Ritz Stitzel tune, maybe C Jam, that they did in B flat earlier segment. And we mentioned there were some great licks in there for the kids to learn. Well, take the licks from that chart, write them out for the kids to can play them on this chart. Blues is blues. Just make sure you're in the right key, but the kids can learn these licks, and that's giving them some ideas to propel their improvised solos. The whole play what you feel doesn't really cut it. The kids, generally not in the right key.
Yep.
Or what the most common comment I make to students at festivals is, you're playing way too many notes in the solo. You're unleashing the floodgates. They don't know what to play, so they play everything they've ever learned.
Yeah.
And none of it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Learning licks is very important.
The next chart we're going to listen to is, again, in my top 5 as well. I'm glad other people recommended this. This is Jumping at the Woodside, arranged by Rick DeRosa, who's a great writer. This is part of the Jazz for Young People series with Lincoln Center and Wynton Marsalis. So this is based on rhythm changes, original Count Basie. When I've done this tune, I've actually taught it by ear first. On this tune, you need a good rhythm section, bass, drums, piano, especially. When I did it, we didn't do guitar, and we could still do it pretty well. But if you don't have a strong bass player or strong piano player, I found, because the tempo is a little on the upside, and it's actually easy to get lost at the end of this chart.
And it's a great way to introduce plunger mutes to your brass players. Which can be kind of entertaining when you first introduce what a plunger mute is, and you
go to the hardware store and tell them to keep the stick.
Yeah. But it's funny, you go to festivals and I watch the kids.
People got to drill a hole in it. If people don't know that, I assume, I don't know if we talked about this or not, but Clark Terry always said, drill a hole in the middle of the plunger so a little air can get out.
And you have to remind the kids too, especially middle school kids, their arms can't even reach to the bell of the trumpet or the trombone, and so they don't move the mute. And you watch someone who really is a great plunger player, like Herb Pomeroy and those guys, who could squeeze and twist the plunger mute. It's like a whole new voice. This also has terms like the send-off to solos. That's just common terminology that kids should know. But if you don't have that in a chart, they don't really know what you're talking about. And plenty of improv space, and it's a great out chorus.
Yeah.
There's standard tunes that, again, this is the Count Basie tune, but a lot of people have played Jumping at the Woodside. We used to do it on Don Doan's band, and other than the tempo, we never had anything technically that was hard to play.
Yep.
And that's important too. If you want the kids to learn how to play tempo, don't give them a bazillion notes to have to play to that tempo. So.
Yeah, that's true too, especially in the bass line. It's 8 bars and then learn the bridge. And if the kid can play that, they just have to be able to play fast enough so it doesn't change throughout the chart. But yeah, it's a great chart. Here's Jumping at the Woodside, Rich DeRosa. Also, that the bass line on there it's a very cool bass line. You can also have your kid play a simpler bass line too.
Oh, sure.
If you wanted to.
And again, I would just caution directors, be careful about the tempo. I think it'd be pretty easy to get too excited with that and push it. The tempo on that particular demo starts out great. I mean, that's very comfortable. And I think that's where you want to achieve it. Just, you don't want to get to the point where you can play that. So you just keep pushing the tempo.
But at the same time, if it's down,
yeah,
the chart's going to take 14 hours. So, all right, we got one more on this episode. Hopefully you guys are digging this. This is one of my favorite tunes. Again, if you don't know Cannonball Adderley, go check out the live version of this tune called Sticks, which is a B-flat blues, but it's a 14-bar blues instead of a 12-bar blues. And Mike Kamuff, who we had on earlier this year as well on this podcast, a great guy, great writer. And this is one of my favorite charts of his. It's just like soul jazz through and through.
Yeah, you had suggested this to me coming out of the pandemic at one of the festivals we did, and I was conducting the second level of the 3 bands, and this worked great. It's a wonderful chart. The kids dug it, and
there's a little bit of Nat Adderley trumpet solo in the trumpet solo, which is actually harder than it seems. Yeah,
because there's moments where it goes fairly low.
Yeah,
and but again, it's attainable, especially with a band in a high school that has time to put into it. A festival band, you'll come close if the kids are at that particular
Two
level.
things I want to say is, one, kids dig this tune. They just love it.
Yep.
And number two, if I love the chart, but if you can play it the tempo that Cannonball plays it, it's like a whole other thing too. So if you have a great band and you play this chart, you can even listen to the original and it changes the feel just a little bit.
No, Mike's a wonderful writer, and he truly gets what kids can do. And,
yeah. All right, here's Sticks by Cannonball Adderley, arranged by Mike Kamuff. We sincerely appreciate you taking your valuable time and listening to the Growing Band Director podcast. Your students are very lucky to have a band director like you. If you have any suggestions for episode topics or think you have an area of expertise to share on a show with us, please reach out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your band director friends to subscribe as well. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening to The Growing Band Director. See you next week.